Today we'll be talking about aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. First, for aerobic respiration, it consists of four important stages. Alright, for respiration, aerobic respiration, the general equation is glucose plus oxygen. It then converts into carbon dioxide and water. So the four important stages is glycolysis, link reaction, Krebs cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation. First is glycolysis. It means the breaking down of glucose, which consumes 2 ATP. But then, it has a net production of 2 ATP. We'll talk about it later. So in glycolysis, it first involves phosphorylation. A 6C compound, which means glucose, it uses 2 ATP and grabs 2 phosphorus to form 2 triose phosphate. Then is dehydrogenation, which means losing hydrogen and undergo oxidation. The hydrogen is accepted by NAD, the hydrogen carrier. The 2 triose phosphate molecules then produces ATP because it loses 4 phosphorus along the way. The 4 phosphorus then combines with 4 ATP to form 4 ATP molecules. It also loses hydrogen and binds with NAD, the hydrogen carrier, to form 2 molecules of NADH. The final product for glycolysis are 2 pyruvate molecules. So let us take a look at the overall flow for glycolysis. As we can see, it has a net production of 2 ATP. The magic number for you to remember for glycolysis, the final products are 222. 2 ATP, 2 NADH, and 2 pyruvate molecules. Next is link reaction. From cytoplasm to mitochondrial matrix. The 2 pyruvate molecules will be used. Let's see. The pyruvate molecule first moves to mitochondrial matrix, and it is converted by coenzyme A and transforms into 2-carboxyl-CoA compound. It loses 1 carbon dioxide along the way and hydrogen to form NADH, 2 molecules of NADH, and 1 carbon dioxide. And then the 2-carboxyl-CoA compound binds with coenzyme A and forms acetyl coenzyme A. And this is the link reaction. It has a net production of 2 NADH and 1 carbon dioxide molecule. The final product for it is acetyl coenzyme A. It occurs at the mitochondrial matrix. The magic number for this reaction, link reaction, is also 222. But remember, this time is CO2, 2 NADH, and 2 carbon acetyl coenzyme A. They're all produced by link reaction. Now, Krebs cycle. It produces ATP, NADH, FADH, and 1 carbon dioxide. Sorry, not 1. Let's see. It involves 2 carbon compound to 6 carbon compound to 5 carbon compound to 4 carbon compound. Let us take a look. So the 2C acetyl-CoA binds with oxyl acetate 4C compound to form 6C compound. It then loses hydrogen to FAD and NAD respectively, both forming FADH and NADH. Along the way, it also loses one molecule of carbon dioxide, which forms 5-carbon compound. The 5-carbon compound then loses hydrogen to NAD and forms NADH. Carbon dioxide is also released along the way to form 4-carbon compound. The 4-carbon compound loses hydrogen to FAD and NAD respectively. 1 ATP is produced, forming oxyl acetate, a 4-carbon compound. Let us take a look at the summary of Krebs cycle. It has a net production of 3 FADH, 1 ATP, and 1 FADH2. There's no magic number, but you can remember it by 1, 2, 3. 1 ATP, 1 FADH2, 2 CO2, 3 NADH. They're all produced by Krebs cycle. Now, the most important stage for aerobic respiration, which is the oxidative phosphorylation. Most of its energy are produced from here. It has a net production of 34 ATP and 1 water molecule. It occurs in the inner membrane of mitochondria. Oxidative phosphorylation involves 2 kinds of oxidation. The first is the oxidation of NADH, and the second is the oxidation of FADH. Let's take a look at the oxidation of NADH first. NADH first loses an electron and loses 1 hydrogen. Along the way, it undergoes a series of redox reactions and forms 3 ATP. The electrons bonds with 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecule and forms water. Same thing for oxidation of FADH2. It occurs in the inner membrane of mitochondria. It also forms 1 water molecule. However, it only forms 2 ATP. Again, it's the same. Just that only 2 ATP molecules are produced along the way of a series of redox reactions. A total of 10 NADH and 2 FADH are produced from glycolysis to Krebs cycle, which means 1 NADH are produced. 1 oxidation process for NADH produces 3 ATP. 1 oxidation process for FADH produces 2 ATP, which means there's a net production of 10 times 3 plus 2 times 2, which means there are 34 ATP are produced. Okay. Now, let's move on to anaerobic respiration. There are 3 categories. Sorry, there are only 2 categories. There's a typo here. Okay, for formation of ethanol and carbon dioxide in yeast and formation of lactic acid in skeletal muscles. They all belonged to alcoholic fermentation, which means anaerobic respiration. Alcoholic fermentation in yeast. Yeast is a unicellular fungus which respires anaerobically. When oxygen is not enough, it respires anaerobically and produces ethanol and carbon dioxide. Let's take a look at its general equation. Glucose is converted into energy, 2 ATP, ethanol, and 2 carbon dioxide. Glucose first loses hydrogen to NAD and forms NADH. It produces 1 ATP and forms 2 pyruvate. You may find this process similar, because from glucose to 2 pyruvate, this is exactly the same as glycolysis, because it is glycolysis. Pyruvate, the 2 molecules of pyruvate each releases 1 molecule of carbon dioxide. 2 NAD are produced, and 2 ethanol are finally produced. Now, for lactic acid fermentation in skeletal muscles. Muscle cells can carry out anaerobic respiration when there is not enough oxygen. Under insufficient supply of oxygen, glucose is broken down into lactic acid to release small amount of energy. While during very intense exercises, you may feel sore because lactic acid are produced along the way. Let's take a look at its general equation for lactic acid fermentation. Glucose is converted into energy, 2 ATP, and 1 lactic acid. Again, glycolysis, which is the same as before. However, the 2 pyruvate molecules forms 2 NAD, and then it forms 2 lactic acid. Along the way, it produces 2 ATP,